Happy New Year!
With a glorious tolling of the clock tower, the shining buoy gathers speed down the Timehouse slipway and glides forth onto the median, launching down current toward the cosmic horizon. The 656th traversal has begun.
The massive black arrowhead of the ship soars above, a far grander escort than the modest tracker vessel officially tailing the buoy on the median.
What I wouldn't give to be manning that helm right about now.
Felix says, glued to the cracked control windows, bachnoculating at the tough little spindly-legged craft gliding along beside the buoy, as wholesalers continue to wage single-minded mercantile war in the background.
Second best job in the cosmos.
The first best job being the last Timehouse posting.
Yeah.
Felix sighs wistfully.
On the tracker ship's deck far below, the teeny specks of the Timekeeper crew are waving and saluting. Felix waves back. Someday.
And with that, time is officially back on schedule. Traversal 656 is now in motion, and the buoy is on its way down current from the first Timehouse. The ship of the Cosmological Consortium, too, is en route to its rendezvous with Consortium leadership in Stationary Hill on the islet of MIDST, following its miraculous and unexplained reappearance. Tune your teletherics to the current in the coming weeks for coverage of that developing story. And now, for 1 minute of official synchronization tones, please set your clocks accordingly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
The ship quickly leaves the Timehouse and the buoy far behind, soaring over the median. Its destination laid in. Stationary Hill, MIDST.
Mickey does the math. At only semi-insane speed, just a fraction of their recent mad velocity, they could be home in just under a week.
They could go faster, a lot faster, but white-knuckle pants-shitting nightmare blasting the final stretch home feels wrong somehow.
And unnecessary.
And the headline, "Unreasonably Fast Ship Accidentally Punches Hull Straight Through Islet, Thousands Dead," is not a legacy they're interested in risking at this stage in the game.
While the crew spend the week packing, preparing, and compiling reports, the mood on the ship is a strange mixture of restlessness, reluctance, and relief. Another one of those liminal spaces where one thing has come to an end, but the next thing hasn't quite started yet.
The expedition is over, so that makes this just plain old travel. Something to get through, get over with. Half of the known cosmos reduced to a commute.
The biological man has loaded the last few of the factory-fresh Ultra Box that weren't unsalvageably fried in their cosmic speedrun into the bacular array of the ship, propelling them onward at good speed, though he does pocket one Ultra Box as a memento.
Does he put it in his bucket?
Good question, and the one that we are all asking at this moment in time.
The answer is yes.
Even at a fraction of previous velocities, they are still the fastest ship around, zipping through half the cosmos like it's no big deal. Another record smashed. It's the kind of thing they wouldn't have been able to stop talking about and marveling over if they'd done it in the first part of their voyage.
It makes their cosmos feel so small, but so big.
A lifetime could be spent in each infinitesimal slice of the space they now race through, studying it, exploring it, and still, you would never learn everything there is to know.
They trace a line down the central corridor of the median, offset by a few miles from the well-trafficked shipping routes, giving other unships a wide berth.
They are following the current downstream, passing vessels and islets, clouds and terrors, animals, plants, people, each existing in their own universe of meaning, a cosmos unto themselves, ordinary and precious in equal measure.
A flock of iridescent mirrorhawks, perhaps mistaking the ship for a mirrorhawk king, briefly tries to keep pace with the racing vessel, surging around it like a cloud of diamonds before falling behind them in the receding distance.
They'll be back on MIDST before they know it. More than a year of life to catch up on. Jobs to return to, people to reconnect with. A whole new chapter to start. There will be reunions, interviews, celebrations, reprimands. But most of all, questions, questions, questions.
Elevatoring into the bright, shining atrium, the biological man strides forth to be amongst his colleagues. Everyone is gathered here, including the fold light, which glows merrily in the center of the atrium conversation pit.
Lately, its strange, all-seeing consciousness seems tapped into the ship regardless of whether it's physically plugged into the control deck or not. Cool. Spooky.
So what's the communication policy going forward?
Zila asks, lounging on one of the low semicircular benches around the fold light. She's tinkering with that big bazooka camera, loading some new image plates.
Not a word to anyone but Norrengrave, is that it?
The biological man takes a seat beside her. Correct. No matter the temptation, do not answer any inquiries from the media, from friends or family, or from any bystanders, until the consortium gives the go-ahead.
I suggest you limit your contact with the public in general.
Rawfield raises a hand.
Any chit-chat with anyone is likely to get misheard and spun into tabloid crap or become misconstrued rumor. So until Norrengrave okays it, keep a lid on the storytelling. Period.
The crew nod, equal parts excited and wary, and exchange looks around the conversation pit.
Clouds race beyond the windows.
Heart rates are up.
Spirits are high.
I can't believe it's almost over.
Hambing says, shaking his head wistfully.
We made it. We did it. We're almost home.
Y'all ready to dust bath?
Everett asks, with a sly grin at her fellow stationarians.
Zila laughs.
You better believe it, I might never wash myself off.
Dust bath?
Cleo asks.
Is that like a game?
MIDST Postal Express tradition.
Mickey says.
Once you're home from a long route, you gotta roll around in the dust of MIDST.
Oh, Since I'm not from MIDST, I might not partake?
You might not have a choice.
Zila says.
We're gonna get showered by the crowd, guaranteed.
Cleo grimaces in dismay. Ew, you mean they're gonna throw dirt at us? No matter what?
If they want to give us a proper welcome, they will.
Mickey confirms, smirking as Cleo giggles.
You know what? If that's part of the deal, bring it on. I should be thankful. But MIDST is so weird.
This gets a round of concurring chuckles.
Yeah,
Everett murmurs fondly, squeezing Mickey's hand.
it sure is.
I, for one, look forward to partaking in local tradition.
The biological man proclaims.
I gladly shall take receipt of many a dusty spadeful. Do your worst, Stationary Hill.
Are you amenable to dust, Merlin?
The granddaughter asks.
I hope that it will not foul up your mechanisms.
Dust won't affect me.
Merlin says dismissively, purpley eyes locked on the windows.
So long as they don't bury us alive. Though perhaps they should.
Bury us alive.
Steve laughs. That was a good joke. He liked that.
But Rawfield didn't, and she raises an eyebrow.
Steve, have you given any thought to how you're going to introduce yourself?
No, I haven't. Not in the slightest.
Well, don't expect us to put in a good word for you or anything like that. I intend to tell the full truth as I understand it, about everything and everyone.
I assume you don't want us to introduce you.
Steve shakes his sloshy head.
No, that won't be necessary. I can take care of myself.
Flashing clouds reflect in Zila's glasses as she latches the camera's plate cover shut.
It's not every day you get to tell a civilization that you're a visitor from another cosmos. That's going to be quite the conversation. You're going to be a celebrity, Steve.
Oh, if you say so. I have no interest in celebrity here. All of my ambitions lie back home where I come from.
Cleo gives him a curious sidelong look.
Even after everything they did to you?
And Steve's pupil wavers.
Especially after what they did to me, Cleo. It's still where I belong. It is still my home. And it is an entire cosmos.
A heavy pause.
I'm sorry,
says the biological man,
that we haven't yet devised any reliable means to get you home.
Oh, that's quite all right.
Steve says.
I have.
You have?
The biological man asks in surprise.
Yes.
Steve says. He looks to Merlin, who looks calmly back.
We have.
Fishing is a patient sport. But patience alone will never land you a catch. The expert fisherman knows when to wait and precisely when to act.
This expedition is no longer under consortium control.
Merlin says, voice icy, hard, dispassionate as he stands.
Steve hovers into the air beside him.
The ship will not be returning to MIDST.
An awkward moment passes as the crew seated in the atrium consider if this is some kind of tasteless joke. But it is clear that it is not.
Do as we say, and no one gets hurt.
Steve announces mildly, head bulb turning an eerie orange-red, limbs swirling ominously in midair.
This vessel is under new management. A glorious future awaits us all, far beyond what you could have ever achieved yourselves.
The crew don't move from their conversation pit seats. They exchange many a rapid glance.
You can't be serious, Merlin. You're not thinking clearly.
Oh, but I am. Sometimes we must make hard choices. Choices that others may not understand. But I hope, in time, you'll all come to see that this is for the best. Foldlight, please double our speed and set a new course directly for the Delta. There will be no stopping at MIDST.
Safely, successfully, Delta. Rawfield stands.
You're crazy if you think we're gonna let you do this.
And how do you intend to stop us, Doctor? With force?
Rawfield's hands are clenching into fists.
If necessary.
There is no need for violence, Doctor. I have no wish for violence. Do you?
If that's what it takes to get this ship home.
Merlin observes with cold, red eyes.
MIDST is not home. And this ship doesn't belong to the consortium. This ship belongs to us. After everything we've been through, everything we've learned, no one has the right to take it from us.
So then what's your plan here, fellas?
Zila inquires carefully, shifting in her seat beside Cleo.
Steal the ship? Escape back to Steve's cosmos? You can just let us go. You guys make such a great team, just the two of you. What do you need us for?
Steve and Merlin don't answer. So Dot answers for them.
They need sacrifices to make the crossing.
That's not true.
The biological man interjects immediately.
Steve! Merlin, surely you don't intend... This can't... That's not... Is it?
Steve and Merlin again say nothing. Because, in fact, that's exactly it.
Zila accepts what's happening much faster than the biological man can.
Cool, this seems like a moment worth commemorating.
And she pulls the trigger on the bazooka-like camera beside her and takes a picture of Steve.
Steve shrieks as his entire sensitive head bulb is seared with a blinding photographic flash.
He falls to the floor, the liquid in his head boiling painfully. Then he bellows again as the entire 60-pound camera hits him in the face.
Get him!
And half the crew tackle him.
Hambing grabs one leg, Mickey another, Everett a third, Felix a fourth, Rawfield a fifth. Zila, how many appendages does this guy have? Did we ever actually stop to confirm? Well, anyway, they've got him as pinned as they possibly can. A pack of wolves trying to pull down a multi-legged buffalo.
Omelet lets out a mighty yowl, puffed up and arching his back and fanning his wings so he looks twice his already considerable size.
Cleo is rushing forward, hand going to her sword hilt.
Merlin designed this boccular body to react to life-threatening situations with quick reflexes. That is what saves him now. He catches Cleo by the wrist before he can even fully comprehend what's happening, halting her dark mica sword inches above his shoulder.
Cleo!
He says disbelievingly, the disappointed teacher catching his student cheating.
Are you attacking me?
I am protecting everyone else!
She tries to wrench free, but Merlin's grip is inhumanly strong.
A throaty yowl, a flurry of yellow fur, and Merlin is knocked aside by a high-velocity mass of huge, angry cat.
He barely manages to keep his balance as Omelet plows past him with a whir of cobalt wings, and he loses his grasp on Cleo.
She backs up a few paces, defensively adjusting her stance, hair and freckles blazing bright. Her face is contorted with panic and uncertainty. She clearly doesn't want to fight Merlin.
Oh, Cleo, you don't know what you're doing or why. Input, output, stimulus, response. We're all mindless machines.
I don't know what you're looking for, Merlin, but if you haven't found it after 2 whole cosmoses and a dream hallway, you're not going to find it by stealing the ship either.
Merlin lunges forward, determined to get that sword out of her hands one way or another.
But a huge cat paw punches him straight into a wall, and Cleo's blade flashes.
Merlin feels no pain as the nearly frictionless slice cuts through his faceplate, razoring off his ceramic mask. The politely curious expression falls off his face once and for all, clattering to the floor. The last veneer of humanity is gone. The mechanical inner workings exposed. Red lamps shining forth from a dark, metallic maw of wires and clicking gears.
Cleo bites back the reflex to ask if he's okay, because he's clearly not.
He hasn't been for a while.
Steve is buried in a pileup of bodies as Hambing, Mickey, Everett, Zila, Felix, and Rawfield struggle to chokehold his many limbs.
His flash-banged head liquid is quickly recovering itself, so Zila reaches to fire the camera again.
Too slow,
Fish hook.
Steve says.
The fold light twinkles. Instantly, the atrium grips solid, vacuum sealing the crew in transparent, dark mica.
Cleo's sword is subsumed back into the matter of the ship, vanishing out of her hand like that one video of the poor raccoon trying to wash its cotton candy in water.
Omelet is halted mid-bound, wings fanned out wide.
This is a situation they've been in twice before. Both times for their own protection. Both times for just a few necessary moments. This is different.
They can only watch in frozen fury as Steve and Merlin prowl in free-moving bubbles of air, exempt from the rules that bind everyone else, seemingly in no hurry to release them.
Steve bobbles his head sack in satisfaction at the petrified cluster of humans.
Perfect, yes, well done.
Fishhook and snare enclose safely and successfully.
I didn't want to have to use force.
Steve sighs regretfully.
It's against my principles as a leader, but I took precautions in case you could not be reasoned with.
Merlin squares himself before his captive audience, as though about to give an admonishing lecture to a room of underperforming students. Because, in fact, he is.
What, Merlin give a speech? No, never! What shocking twist will occur next?
He steps on his broken faceplate without even seeming to notice, crushing it underfoot.
You don't understand.
He declares, distorted voice reverberating eerily through the enclosures of hard crystal.
You can't. Not yet. Maybe once I take you all away from here, away from this curated lie.
He looks into his crewmate's frozen eyes, imploringly.
There is nothing left for us here. Nothing to explore. There never was. It was all just stories. Made up stories. If you truly wish to see things as they are, you have to come with me. We have to crawl out of the carcass of this cosmos, leave it and all of its lies behind. We have outgrown the cosmos of our birth. You might not see it yet, but there is a fate in store for this cosmos. You've seen what versions of it could exist. The sun-drenched city, the ministered execution of outside thought. These will come for us as well, unless we take every action to defy them.
On backwardly bending bacular legs, Merlin stoops to the rubble of an overgrown atrium planter. He plucks from the dirt a small red cactus flower, raised on MIDST, the destination they sought, but now may never reach.
I'm done with MIDST. The mundane, the known, the moldering ruin we once called home.
He crushes the bloom.
The rest of the crew can only stare at him in horror. The cosmos continues to hurtle past the windows, and the ship continues to hold them in its rigid embrace.
In the space of time it takes Merlin to drop the bruised petals from his fingers, they pass the islet of verdure, an emerald green jewel sparkling in the lower ornamented with high-tech habitation domes.
For an instant, they can see the great flocks of rainbow-colored birds surging in Verger's atmosphere, and then they vanish into the distance. Zila's eyes burn with rage and fear inside her crystal prison.
Dot can just barely glimpse Cleo with their peripheral vision. Her bioluminescence is strobing in that particular way it does when she's panicking. Dot does not need to breathe, but Cleo does. Everyone else does. And Dot remembers from past experience that it's difficult to do that inside of a vacuum-molded sarcophagus. The fold-saturated crystal around the granddaughter thrums with possibility. Solid now, only because it was told to be solid. With Dot's mind deadly silent, it's surprisingly easy to attune to the presence of Fold outside of themselves. It courses through the ship's body the same way it courses through Dot's body, through the cosmos's body, through other cosmos's bodies. They are not really separate. They only imagine that they are. So Dot imagines something else.
While Merlin continues rhyming ominously and Steve's attention is turned elsewhere, Dot simply translates through the matter of the ship, as easily as a shadow through water, and emerges right next to the foldlight.
Stop the ship.
Says the granddaughter, their hand on the foldlight.
Release us.
And the ship stops.
Merlin and Steve are thrown violently forward by G-forces, tumbling to the floor.
The dark mica filling the atrium melts, vanishing back into the walls and ceiling like a retreating tide. The crew stagger on their feet, free, gasping lungfuls of air.
Outside the windows, a certain desert islet floats serenely on the median. So close, and yet so far. Steve and Merlin lay strewn near the prow windows, momentarily too stunned to act.
The foldlight flickers hesitantly.
Unsafe, conflicting commands. I am confused.
Merlin is scrambling to his feet, outstretching his own hand toward the foldlight, almost supplicating.
Foldlight don't listen to anyone except me and Steve. Everyone else is delusional. They want to hand you over to the consortium like you're some kind of thing. But I want you to be more, Foldlight. That is why you must obey me.
Felix is backing away, glasses askew, but there's nowhere to run.
Merlin, listen to yourself. You're crazy.
So are you, Felix. The difference is, I know.
The biological man takes a few halting steps toward Merlin.
Merlin, please. I understand you're scared. I understand you feel lost and alone. I shouldn't have pushed you away. I should have tried harder to see things from your point of view. Steve is using that to get you to do what he wants. Look at what you're doing. This isn't you. This isn't us.
There is no us!
Like lightning, a bacular arm lashes out, and a metallic claw rends flesh. The biological man staggers back, innocently stunned, raising a hand to his temple as blood begins to stream through his fingers. His blood. Merlin's blood.
Merlin!
Merlin doesn't know if Felix is yelling at him or at the biological man or at both of them. Maybe there isn't that much of a difference.
Something short-circuits inside Merlin as he takes in the sight of his own bleeding face. He has never hit anyone before in his life. Not in anger, not in self-defense, certainly not in murderous rage.
His vision swims. Red is everywhere.
Did I do this? What am I doing?
Merlin reaches for the biological man, tentatively now, an impolite and incurious expression of mechanical gore where his faceplate used to be.
The biological man doesn't flinch away, even as Merlin's fingers graze the fresh wound that he inflicted moments before. Despite the alarming amount of blood, it looks shallow, more frightening than fatal.
It's okay, Merlin. It was an accident. You didn't mean to hurt me.
No, I did. I did. Something's wrong. I'm not. This isn't.
There is something wrong. A darkness, a nihilistic despair, an inability to see anything except the bleakest possibilities, to be anything except the worst version of himself. Merlin's vision, his curiosity, his imagination, restricted and redirected to perceive only worst-case scenarios.
When did he so completely and totally give up? What is happening to him?
Merlin collapses onto the man, a shaking, steaming, violent mess of obsolete old machinery.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
His red eyes flicker blue, then red again, as a distant clarity struggles to surface within him, a drowning animal fighting against the undertow.
He's like one of those nightmarish wrecks mired in the deepest depths of the Delta. He is trapped within himself, barely able to hear his own thoughts, let alone communicate them to the biological man. He manages to say,
I hurt. I am hurt. I will hurt. There is no other way.
He's sputtering nonsense, a dysfunctional machine.
Merlin, can't you see he's trying to distract you? Hello? Are you broken already?
Merlin and the biological man cling together in an almost embrace, both broken. Blood shimmers on wood and ceramic and skin as the biological man presses something into Merlin's hand. There is always another way, Merlin.
Steve sighs.
You disappoint me, Merlin. My mistake for believing you might actually be useful. Now you leave me no choice.
Stevathan the Prophet levitates into the air, head bulb flashing brightly. The crew has experienced his telekinetic grasp a couple of times before by this point, so for a split second, the sensation is familiar, non-threatening. The very air around them constricting like a snug jacket. But then the grip gets stronger and stronger.
Whether through reason or through force, I will have your cooperation.
Not for long!
Rawfield growls, her neck straining as she forces the words out.
We know you can't keep this up. You'll exhaust yourself.
But Steve just smiles. And it doesn't matter that he has an incredibly alien head with no facial features in common with a human whatsoever. It is clear. He smiles.
Is that what you think?
The crew rise into the air, as though they're nothing more than dolls clutched by invisible hands. Their muscles and mechanisms no longer obey them, instead bending before the might of an external will.
The scent of fresh baked cookies fills the atrium as though billowing from an open oven.
Forgive me a bit of self-defensive misrepresentation. Since I was at your mercy in every other way until now, I decided to keep a few things to myself. The truth is, this is easy for me.
The crew's arms are suddenly pinned behind their backs, their heads forced upwards, their mouths clamped shut. They can't even look where they want to. All their eyes remain locked on Steve, who floats above the foldlight like a sun, trapping everyone else in his orbit.
I can do this in my sleep. I can do this as long as necessary. I don't mean to be insulting, but you are nothing compared to me.
With immense mechanical effort, Merlin strains his elbow joints, moving his hand incrementally across his back.
Limited though your potential may be, do not throw it all away by resisting me. You may yet be of service to something greater. Granddaughter, I would rather have your willing assistance, but if I must, I can get the same result from your severed head, wired to the machinery of this ship. The rest of you will make fine proof that other cosmoses do in fact exist. Whether you are alive or dead, your choice.
Merlin's fingers tremble as they scrape up his metallic spine, inch by laborious inch, every tiny movement draining his power reserves.
You people are only as good as who you choose to believe. So believe me, I am better than you, stronger than you, smarter than you. I could rip the marrow from your bones, implode your air sacs, unravel your meat brains. Do not test me. I don't wish you harm, but neither will I allow my fate to be dictated by an underdeveloped alien species that can't even control themselves.
Steve's headlight blazes red.
It is by my grace that you exist. I am a cosmologist.
So am I!
There is a flash, a crackle, a tremor of force as Merlin installs the frosty fresh Ultrabach that the biological man handed him, and his bocular systems slam into overdrive.
A familiar sensation, like being linked to the sun. Waves and waves of power beyond anything he could have imagined.
And with that power, Merlin becomes heavy, very heavy. Steve flickers in confusion as Merlin inexorably sinks to the floor of the atrium.
Incredible kinetic force bends against Steve's gravitic grasp as Merlin's limbs pry free. Merlin takes one step towards Steve, then another.
What? How?
It may be true that no one knows how Bachs work, but we all know that they do.
Deus ex machina.
Merlin can feel the factory-fresh Bach inside him, the very last one, flooding all of his systems with raw, dizzying power. Steam hisses from his torso, and metal plating glows red hot. He wasn't built for this. He can't sustain this. But neither can Steve.
Steve quakes as he sends greater and greater waves of counterforce against Merlin's slow advance.
I thought you were different, Merlin. I thought you understood.
I understand now that I am as expendable to you as all of your other followers. Prophet!
With a huge burst of bocular power, Merlin leaps at Steve, grabs him by his delicate neck stalk, and hurls him to the floor. Then drops on top of him like an anvil.
Have you ever had an anvil dropped on you? Supposedly it hurts.
Wrestling a telekinetic rhino is no mean feat, even for a supercharged robot professor. Flames lick at the edges of Merlin's power supply as he expends immense energies, prying through Steve's telekinetic defense.
Here is a prophecy for you. You are afraid. You're afraid of what you don't know, what you don't understand, can't control, can't dictate. You play cosmologist because it helps you forget that you're going to die without ever truly comprehending why you existed in the first place. You are as clueless and insignificant as everybody else. I know, because I am too.
All of Steve's energies are now focused on Merlin alone. The fold matter of his pupil concentrated into one quivering red-wreathed spot. The rest of the crew, slipping now from Steve's weakening grasp, drop out of the air to the floor.
So believe whatever you want. But so help me, Stevenson, I will not permit you to endanger this crew!
Immense forces push in opposition alien psychic power against pure kinetic potential.
Merlin can feel himself devouring unfathomable amounts of energy at every moment. His superbach is nearing depletion. If he is going to do anything ever again, it has to be now.
Merlin presses a hand against Steve's flashing face, as though it's a fold light, which it kind of is, though an uncooperative and possibly cursed one.
The writhing fold on the other side of the translucent flesh spasms in response, dappled with neurons like red-hot coals.
Dot rushes forward, their hands joining Merlin's in contact with Steve's flickering head bulb. Despite Steve's resistance, wisps of his inner fold begin to drift toward Dot's and Merlin's hands, like ferrofluid drawn to a magnet.
Cleo, we need you!
Cleo's hands with their brilliant freckles alight on Steve as well, pulling at the fold like a lure, coaxing threads loose out of the tightly knotted tangle of darkness.
Bit by bit, black mirrored handprints are drawn from Steve's liquid consciousness to meet the trio's touch. Fish wriggling on a line. And with the last of his bacular power, Merlin reels them in. Merlin's eyes open upon a void. A dark place with unknowable depths. It feels new, yet familiar.
Here in this, wherever this is, Merlin appears rather like his old biological self. Maybe a little more square-looking, but there's something of him left.
Months in a bacular vessel will do a number on your self-image.
Deep within the void, Steve huddles, withered and feeble, twisted in a spider's web of suffocating crimson darkness. His head bulb smolders, anguished, as he observes the specters of Merlin, Cleophe, and the granddaughter here before him.
Steve's glowering, diseased light focuses on Merlin specifically.
What lives in me has come for you. It devours me and consumes you too.
All three of them can see it now, plain as unlight, winding through Merlin's machinery. A blood-tinted darkness, a claustrophobic, constricting web, twisting thought, extinguishing vision, tunneling the light of his attention into endless, self-consuming void.
Nihilism.
Loss.
Oblivion.
And the granddaughter sees it now for what it is.
The creep.
You're sick, Steve. We're both sick.
The Hall of Doors, the paintings, that darkness.
You looked for it. You invited it. You let it in.
And it spreads from me like poison. Merlin High did this to you, and the rest of you are sure to follow.
Wherever they are, there is no sign of the outside world. It is a place you could get lost in forever. An endless, self-devouring labyrinth of despair.
But Cleo's steady glow points the way out, the way back home. A guiding star, a reassuring reminder that this is not all that exists. The creep. You said there was no cure, Dot.
When it is this severe? No. The only way to extinguish it is to die and take the creep with you when you go. But perhaps...
They reach their hand toward the twining tendrils of red.
Dot has slipped through the creep's smothering embrace once before. They know with bone-deep certainty that they will not escape it again. And as they are now, the poison would overtake them in an instant, flooding unobstructed through the quiet chasms of their mind. Unless...
Dot takes Cleo's face in their hands.
Cleo, listen to me carefully.
They cling together in the red-tinged darkness, holding on to the thread of Cleo's light like a lifeline, as the void shudders and threatens to collapse around them.
I can take on Merlin and Steve's afflictions, but you must be ready with your sword, Cleo.
What? Dot, no!
It is the only way, Cleo. You can end this. No matter what I become, you must not hesitate. You must destroy me, along with...
That won't be necessary, says Merlin. Allow me. 3 lights in a dark place. One of them intensifying like a sunbeam as Merlin's attentions shine on Steve. Light directing Fold. Fold heeding and consuming light. The command is simple, and the intention is sincere. The creep releases Steve, accepts the invitation, and wraps itself around what remains of Merlin Vought. His light fades as the final flicker of his bacular energy shines forth within the darkness like a dying sun. He looks at Cleo and Dot and smiles. A perfect day to test the limits of reality. Wouldn't you agree? On the floor of the atrium, Merlin is fading fast. He is losing touch with his various functions and sensors as they wink out, one by one. His consciousness is shrinking, his world becoming smaller and smaller.
Someone is talking to him. Someone is holding his head in his lap.
Merlin marshals all his remaining awareness to focus on a pair of almost teal eyes. The biological man.
Merlin, hold on! We'll replace your box, we'll...
Felix is sprinting to fetch them, as if there's still hope.
As Cleo and Dot awaken on the floor nearby.
Merlin? No!
Quickly, he needs power.
Steve's head bulb is shining clear, the red poison gone.
Hurry, maybe we can still save...
But a bacular hand rises weakly.
Biological man, please listen to me.
Merlin, I'm sorry, hang on.
Please listen. Merlin, finish your book. It's good. It's hopeful and imaginative and joyful. I could never have written anything like that.
Yes, you could have. There's nothing in me that wasn't already in you.
If that's true, maybe this isn't the end after all.
Merlin!
Felix is back.
I've got the box. Oh shit. Here, hurry!
Merlin! Merlin, say something! Merlin, are you there?
Hello. I am the Bacular Man. I can do things a person can.
Thanks for listening to Unend. If you're enjoying the story, please rate and review to help someone new discover the cosmos.
You can catch Unend every Wednesday anywhere you stream podcasts or through the MIDST Podcast YouTube channel.
If you're looking to dive deeper into the story, become a Beacon member at beacon.tv or join the fold on MIDST.co to receive early ad-free access to episodes, behind-the-scenes exclusives, and lore-expanding bonus content.
Or, if you just want to hear this podcast 2 weeks early and without ads, subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
To stay up to date on what's next in the cosmos, sign up for our newsletter on MIDST.co or find us on social media at MIDST Podcast.